Push it, click it, press it, flick it, tune it in, turn it on. This is what you watch it on. Any way you work it, integrate your circuit at the city. Circuit City.
I'd like to know who you guys are real quick. How many of you either worked for Circuit City or had some close friend or family member work for Circuit City? So, Circuit City was a big presence in Central Virginia. How many of you shopped at Circuit City? How many of you are either faculty or students from Darden or McIntyre? Some people got my email. I'm sorry? Cheerful, that's another good question. But whether you are a former associate, a former customer, a former shareholder, a business leader, an educator, you're going to find something in this film that speaks to you. When I mentioned to people that I was doing a project on Circuit City, I got this quizzical look, like, why would you do a documentary about a defunct retailer? Well, I mean, you all know the ending. I'm not giving a spoiler here. It ends the same way in the movie as it did in real life. But what was, I know, it's like watching Titanic. You just want to different. So there wasn't anything that was really sad about Circuit City. And when you talk to people about Circuit City, it was like, oh yeah, there used to be a store around the corner from me. They shut it down for some reason. And so there's not a lot of post-mortem analysis on what happened with Circuit City. And here was a Fortune 500 company. Wholesale and retail trade in the United States makes up a third of the gross domestic product. I mean, it's bigger than healthcare. It's bigger than the financial industry. And it was during this period of financial meltdown in late, please turn off your cell phone. It was during this period of financial meltdown in late 2008, early 2009 that Circuit City just vaporized, and nobody blinked. Nobody said anything about it. And there are so many important lessons that this company has over its 60-year history on how to build a great company and then how to dismantle one in a relatively short period of time. So why a documentary? Well, first, it's an important story. Secondly, it's really interesting. It's about entrepreneurism. It's about this guy named Sam Wurtzel that was taking a vacation in Richmond, went to get his hair cut, and then saw the tower for WTVR, the first TV station in the South being built. And he said, you know what, people in Richmond are going to need TVs. I'm going to pick up my family, drag them down to Richmond, and we're going to open a TV store. And that TV store became Circuit City. So it's a great story of entrepreneurism. It's about catchy advertising. It's about challenging or compelling merchandising. It's about the passion that people felt about the company. It's about the fascinating story of the birth of TV and how people thought they might get radiation sickness when they bought their television sets. So it's a very interesting story. So it's important, it's interesting,
like cell phones now.
And I personally was in a unique position to tell this story. I graduated from the University of Missouri School of Journalism, and that's where I met my lovely wife, so that was a good move on my part. And we kicked around the newsrooms of some ABC affiliates for a couple of years, and then I got burned out. She was a producer, I was a reporter. I just got totally burned out. And we were picked up pretty quickly by this little retailer that was just opening its first dozen superstores, racetrack superstores in Atlanta, Georgia. And they were interested in both of us. I'm not going to give away the ending, but we were both hired by the company because videography was new back then. Nobody knew anything about it except for journalism students that got to play with the news cameras. They're called ENG, an electronic news gathering. And so we did the same thing that everybody else did despite our technical knowledge, and we went through this 2-week training course that Circuit City had, and we learned all about Sam Wurtzel and opening up that little store on Broad Street in 1949. And for the next 24 years, I told that story. First at Circuit City, then at CarMax, and I told it to customers first because it was part of the greeting, if you recall, story of Sam Wurtzel. And then I told it to new associates when I became a manager, and when I hired new people, I would tell them about Sam Wurtzel. And then I went into management training, and I told thousands of managers this great story about the entrepreneur Sam Wurtzel and how he creating Circuit City. So I have this unique kind of background to tell this film. When I left Circuit City, or when I left CarMax last year to start my own production company, I had a photo, and some of you guys back there remember it, that hung on my wall. And it was of Sam Wurtzel. And when I left Circuit City, I sent the photo to Alan Wurtzel, the son of Sam Wurtzel. He's the guy that Jim Collins wrote the book Good to Great about. So I sent the photo to him, and I said, this belongs to the family. And oh, by the way, I have this video production company now. Would you mind if I came up and did an interview with you? And after convincing him that I was the real deal, where's Greg? Here, Greg. Greg came up with me, and we got this crucial interview with Alan Wurtzel, and that was the foundation of this documentary.